Hello and welcome to Tokyo Inklings. My name is CY and you can find me on my website at tokyostationpens.com or at Tokyo Station Pens on Instagram and on Twitter at Tokyo Station MNH.
My name is Jacob and I'm a foodie fan on Instagram and on Twitter, and I have a blog at foodiefan.com.
Hello, my name is Khuê and you can find me on Instagram at midaicat.
Hi, I'm Alesa and I'm Inky Rocks on Instagram and YouTube.
Oh, you don't have to be so shy.
Well, of course I do.
No, it's just that your voice, kind of, the volume went down.
I think I get tight or something when I talk in a microphone.
Yeah, but she has a different voice when she...
when she records.
He says that, but my husband says it's the same.
No, so you talk slower.
I must...
And a little bit lower.
I talk slower. Because I talk slower to my husband because he doesn't like it when I talk fast. Because he's like, what, you know.
And your tone is a bit lower.
Yeah, you have a very slow and smoky video.
Yeah,
voice.
and it's relaxing. It's relaxing.
And then when I'm like really excited, I'm like,
Yeah, well, it's always good to see everybody, and today we are, meeting really the first time in real life for a couple months. We're on location, so to speak. Today we have some interesting and exciting news, because obviously we just came from Ink Numa, which is a huge ink event, and that's going to be the main topic of our day. But before that, getting into some news, I don't think there was so much news going on in the pen world outside of this event, at least not from Japan. But for me, at least, I got one of these Moonman F9s that has been blowing up in Fountain Pen Network, and it's the Moonman copy of the Mont Blanc Rouge et Noir. And Jacob, we've discussed at length how great these Moonman T1s are. In fact, I have 5 sitting in front of me right now, and these are just fantastic pens with really high build quality. So in comparison to this, because I think the releases were relatively close, what's your impression?
So the F9 seems a lot cheaper, like more cheaply made to me. I'm not sure if it's just this particular pen, but it doesn't have that same build quality as the T1 for sure.
Yeah, and I have the, let's say the original or the real Mont Blanc pen here. And side by side, I think there's some quality differences for sure. I think the clip is not as high quality and not as well detailed. But also, as we were speaking right before, I think that the threads are not very well done. And I haven't got the pen inked up yet, so there's no comparison. And immediately I removed the Moonman nib and replaced it with the Mont Blanc nib. Of course, I just have to do that. But I do feel like this pen isn't as good as the T1. Quick, now you tried the T1 last time. We were recording. What's your impression about the T1 versus the F9?
Yeah, as Jacob said, the T1 seems more well finished, more in detail, and like the pen is a bit heavier. You have the impression it's made with more attention. The imitation of the Mont Blanc seems like an imitation, like a little bit cheaper, plastic, and compared to the Mont Blanc, the Mont Blanc is, you see, it's a pale copy. So
what do you think? I had to catch you while you were drinking.
Actually, not writing with either one of them. I think the main difference why this one feels more luxurious is because it's just heavier.
Yeah.
And had that copy been a little bit heavier, I think it'd have been a little more convincing.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons why this pen is really blowing up on the internet is because of how, let's say, blatant the copy is. But I think we've had a lot of these discussions about, copies versus originals. Do these copies bother you?
So the thing about Moonman, we talked about this before, but they sort of alternate between semi-original designs and outright rip-offs, right? So you have pens like the M1, you have the C1, and a few others that were somewhat original. I mean, there's clear inspiration, but they also added their own, design to it. But then every once in a while they do, the M600, the M800, and now the F1. I'm not too bad about it myself, but it's harder to sort of defend the brand and say that this is a brand that,
Right.
does original work.
And you know what I suspect is that they're not actually like I think they're like a white label for some pen. And I think the people that manufacture them just manufacture a bunch of different other pens.
Yeah.
And when the pens come out, they decide, okay, which brand do we slap onto this pen or this model this time? So I think that's the thing with the F9. But, because it was a big thing on FBN and people were talking about it, and now finally got one in, I did want to spend some time talking about that. But I know that everybody is excited to talk about the main topic, and we've reserved a lot of time for this, which is Ink Numa. And we've kind of discussed this concept of Numa, and we use this word all the time, Numa this, Numa that. Jacob, can you explain to us what is Numa?
So to me, the Ink Numa is this, obsession with ink. You want to have as many different inks as possible. You want to sample them. You want to mix them. You want to share them, and offline and online. And this Ink Numa trend has changed a bit from previous years, I think. And we also talked about that before, where I think there were more overlap between, the fountain pen community and Ink Numa community before. We had, people using Prepis and Kakunos and so on. What we see, and this goes back to this year's Ink Numa event, you see more and more dip pens and glass pens. I feel like the Ink Numa crowd has somewhat left the fountain pen community behind and started using more and more glass pens in particular.
Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, and Alesa, you run a YouTube channel that's I would say 80% focused on inks. It's called Inky Rocks. What's your thought about Numa? Numa being, the swamp, let's say.
I'm a total Ink Numa babe. I've just fell in the swamp and I'm drowning. I almost got to the point where I think I feel like I'm a little tired of ink almost. But I totally understand the whole concept, which I really didn't before. And I think it's that kind of where you go home and, you're tired and you want to relax. So you put on some good music and you pull out all these pretty bottles with pretty colors in them. And you don't even have to be artistic. You can kind of swab them and then write with them a little bit. And you don't have a lot of cleanup with all the different glass pens or dip pens. And I can really understand how some people would prefer to do that. And it kind of incorporates a lot of things that are attractive to many females. And that's why Jacob was the only male in the whole Ink Numa thing today. But I think what's attractive is that they're pretty bottles. Some of them are scented. They're in pretty packaging. You can do pretty things with them. The paper feels smooth. The glass pen is pretty. It's kind of not so much what you write, but the whole act, like almost like a tea ceremony or something. So I kind of got into that, just kind of listening to some music and playing around with your inks and all the cool bottles and like that little light thing. It kind of lights up your bottle. And yeah, I'm not, going to do that all the time. I mean, I use my fountain pens to write with, but I'm in that groove right now. So yeah, I understand it. That's what it means to me. It's the process.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I think one of the appealing aspects about fountain pen inks in Japan and as well as overseas is that they have really artistic names. It's not like black, it's like Midnight Sun, which is just like a black, right? But because it's artistic, it makes people feel this emotion that, using pens and inks to begin with, it's kind of an older, let's say, lost art in a sense. People don't sit down and write anymore. So you feel like you're kind of in this world where you kind of forget about your daily worries and you just focus on what's in front of you, as you say, beautiful. And Khuê, you are, I guess, also a total Numa.
Yeah. Even if I want to, even though I don't accept it, I think I'm completely one of the victims of the movement.
Does the like pretty names and the pretty bottles, does that appeal to you?
Yeah, I think they are really good in this marketing, selling you kind of a dream or poetry. There is a sensitive attraction to the packaging. Like yesterday when we saw some of the new, not exact new ink, but smaller shop that we don't see in Tokyo. So some of the new packaging and the labels and the color. Even Sailor had this new line with the cute girl.
Yeah,
you show me.
And
like cartoon girls a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think they're really good because finally the color, it's like a cycle. They're always the same color. Like some add glitter, some add some shade, but at the end, in 2,000 colors, like 2,000 name or different brand, you will get maybe, I don't know, 50 colors, and they're all really similar. But where the strength is like they make nice. It's like candies. It looks like omiyage that you bring back from a trip as a souvenir, and all the box, all the labels, all the texture. Like they use some washi paper, stuff like that. And I think they're really good to attract the emotional on people. And the thing about, like Alesa said about getting relaxed after a long day, or it's very nice because you slow down. I think playing with ink, it's just like you're just playing like magician or some witch, and you just like mixing stuff using ink, the glass puddle, the glass pen, everything, and you feel like a kid sometimes.
So about the names, closely related to these names is this notion of Gotoji inks, which you, COI, introduced in one of the very first episodes. So Gotoji inks is just means like regional inks. So these inks that you can only buy out in Okayama or in Sendai or whatever it may be. And all of these regional shops, they basically sell the same colors, right? But they name them after something local, right? So this is blue as in Kamba Waterfalls, or this is blue as in Lake Tazawaka. It's basically the same color, but it's, evokes something that's local to the shop.
Yeah, and I think if you just use, pens to write with, as you guys all say, the colors are basically very, very similar. I think what's interesting is the way that these different inks, based on how they're made chemically, the composition, they play out on some papers like Tomoe River most notoriously. They play out differently. So with the shading and the sheen, and as you say, the shimmer and all this. So I think there's a good variety, but yes, the colors essentially are pretty much, the same 50, 60, 70 colors, if we're being generous. And now, onto the concept of the event itself. So I think there's a very, very large event company, a stationary event company called Bungu Joshi.
Yeah.
Now, Bungu Joshi is essentially what the words mean is stationary girls.
Yeah.
Because in Japan, there's this association, I guess, with planners and diaries and the female audience. And of course, this is a bit in opposition, let's say, to the fountain pen world, where it's very male dominated. Now, Bungu Joshi runs several different events every year. They run the Kamihaku, which is based around paper. They run the main Bungu Joshi event, which will be this year in November, which is a more general stationery fair. It's like a trade show. And I think 30,000 people a couple years ago.
So I just read, I think yesterday, that last year's numbers were 38,000.
Okay, 38,000. So, we talk about, DC Pen Show, 3,000 people, largest, no, this is, it's peanuts compared to Bungu Joshi. Yeah. And Bungu Joshi, mainly really only locals go, right? I mean, there's not a big international audience. It'll be interesting to see how many people go this year. And for the crossover, I think, the paper, yes, of course, but Ink Numa, which means ink swamp, and in Japanese, swamp kind of denotes an addiction. Ink Numa is the event where inks and different things related to inks are on display. And I think it's a big deal because, Jacob, you talked about Gotochi ink. The thing with Gotochi ink is that you can really only buy them in the brick and mortar.
Yeah.
So shops like Kobayashi, which is one of the super big ones, they do not ship to your location, even if you're in Japan. And honestly, the shipping's not good. At most, $10. Right? But it's just the concept. They don't want to ship because they want to keep their exclusivity into their brick and mortars because they want to drive traffic.
Yeah.
And it works. So the great thing about Ink Numa and why it's a big deal is that for the, one time in the year, all of these large local regional stores are gathered together in one place to sell their inks, and you don't have to go to Tohoku or I don't know, Nagasaki, and somewhere that you would just never ever go. Something like Utsunomiya, Utsunomiya is only an hour away, but I would never go there because the only thing there is that one stationery store. It's not worth my time. But now that they're here, it's really, really a great opportunity. And I guess so. This and Tokyo International Pen Show are the only two chances really that you would be able to get these Gotochi inks. But this one, for sure, much more local brands and smaller brands.
Yes, so related to that, there is one other big ink show in Japan, and that is Itoya's ink show. But what is different about Itoya's ink show is that it's not about the Gotochi ink. It's mostly about international ink brands. So that's where you have, Diamond, Ackerman, and De Atramentis, and so on. Well, this Ink Numa is all about. The main theme, I would say, is about the Gotochi inks.
Yes. And they even have 3 sections blocked for Gotochi ink, whereas I think Ink from Itoya is much smaller in terms of the venue space as well. It's on the B1 floor of their store. And then
only 1,000 ink.
Yeah, 1,000. And then only. And then the last one is the Tono Limbs events, but we'll get to that another time.
Do we have an earthquake?
Yeah. Oh.
All right, we interrupt this recording for earthquake.
We should leave this in.
You should leave it in so it's you are here.
Yeah.
All right, now we're back. The earthquake has stopped. So we're not low dollar spenders at this event. We're not low dollar.
Speak for yourself.
Okay, you are a low dollar spender because you only like black and blue inks now.
Pretty much.
Permanent.
Yeah.
Yes.
But for Manumas here, what's the big deal about this event for you?
What's the big deal?
Yeah. I'm sitting in and you have all your stuff out. It's a lot of stuff.
Well, last year it was basically like you said that you had all the local area inks and they were all in one place and you couldn't get them. So last year I was seriously a crazy person and I could hardly carry the basket I had the ink in, and a lady, she had a suitcase and she ran over my foot and her suitcase was full of ink and it hurt. It was full of ink. So it was a little more crazy last year because it was your first opportunity. This year for me, a lot of the inks were repeats because the stores don't necessarily change their inks. So I'd already had seen a lot of them. But what I liked about this year was a lot of, as I call it, the gigas. I got a bunch of touristy kind of stuff like ink cards and handkerchiefs and candies that were ink candies and little tiny notebooks. So this year there was a lot more. They were playing more of the fact that people do enjoy ink, and they were kind of making, for lack of a better word, touristy kind of stuff. I got blotter paper with ink bottles on it and just things like that. So that was the fun part for me this year.
Yeah, I think compared to last year, where I feel like the event was more access on ink and as was the first time in Tokyo, people just get crazy. Yeah, it was more crowded too, maybe because there was no pandemic at the time. And so the same, I didn't concentrate as much on ink. I got maybe 3 bottles for myself, like the new release collaboration to Mo and Lim and some shop. But for the other one, either I already bought them last year, either I wasn't interested at the beginning. But all the small goodies that go like I got a nice glass puddle from Tag Stationery to play with my glass pen, and this kind of was interesting. And the only funny things, the other funny thing, was like a lot of craftsmen, like ink seller were not physically there because of the virus. So most of the booths have this iPad where the seller can help you and ask you questions. And at the beginning, I thought it was a video where they will show you how they make the pen or ink. But then the guy looked at me and like, "Can I help you?" And I was a bit surprised. I was like, "He's talking to me." And so most of them had this, and I think it was kind of nice, really typical Japanese service way that I guess you don't find in other pen fair or something, like either the people come or not. But here they're all sitting in their home office or everywhere, and just like the whole day spending in front of the screen to look at the customer in Tokyo. So it was a nice input.
Yeah, and so Jacob, if you want to attend Ink Numa, how can you attend Ink Numa?
Right. So this time, also last time, you had to buy tickets in advance. So they're open for reservations. Like was it 2 or 3 weeks in advance? So you either go and buy them online, or you go to your local convenience store and use the little terminal there to buy a ticket. And what was different this year is that it mattered how fast you were. So last time you had to queue up early in the morning to get a chance to buy the good stuff.
Last time it was how early you were.
Yes. Well, this time it's how fast you could buy a ticket, because there was a number on the ticket, and that was when you got to enter the hall and buy the stuff.
And I went yesterday. And you went today, but when we bought the tickets, we were not exactly the first ones. I think we bought it like 10 minutes into the ticket, because we needed to find a convenience store.
Yeah.
But even so, 10 minutes is not a long time.
Right.
I was the 101 ticket.
I guess the people in front of their computer were the fastest.
Yeah, wow, this event is a big deal, and if you don't get your tickets, you might not be on the first day. But the good thing is that they segment it very well. I think they have like 3 blocks per day, and they actually replenish for each session. Mm-hmm. So even if you're on the second day, you don't necessarily have to worry about, I missed out because I wasn't on the first day. And in that sense, I think it does really well to combat FOMO. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if you're like the 200th person on day one and your ink sold out because, there were 199 people ahead of you, that kind of sucks. So, it could be worth it even to go on a later spot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what did we like, what's the comparison between last year? I know we already talked about, the difference because of COVID. And we talked about organization. I do agree that this year the organization is much better, because you didn't have to line up an hour before, even though we did anyways, because we didn't know.
It was 20 minutes.
Yeah. But I think that this year, as you all noted, the booths are much smaller. Mm. And, I was a bit not super happy that there wasn't a lot of like actual distancing. I mean, they said in their microphones, please social distance, but there was no consequence. Nobody was distancing at all. So I was a bit not super happy about that. But otherwise, I think the system that they have, where it's like a store, and you just put everything in your cart, and then you check out all at once, rather than like at a pen show where you have to check out with each individual seller. So I really like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy that they kept this system.
But there was one, overall it was very well organized, but there was one little problem I saw, and that was that when you get this ink testing notebook, right? And the idea is that you can go to all of these booths and you can use the dip pen, you can test all the inks, right? But the queue for ink testing is the same queue as for when you want to buy, right? So for many of the booths, you have to wait there for a long time because there were like 5 people in front of you who just wanted to spend like a few minutes testing the inks.
Oh yeah, that was super annoying. And that means that I couldn't test the inks that I wanted to buy because if I stood there testing it, somebody's going to buy it before me.
Yeah.
I never test inks of those things. I never test inks.
Do you care what color they are?
I do care what color they are. I don't buy like a lot of oranges and stuff, but
But you can tell that from the packaging.
But yeah, and like you guys are saying, it's 50 colors, and I used my Gaijin card today and just basically said in English, "Excuse me," and they let me reach around and just grab the box, and so I didn't wait in too many lines because I didn't want to test.
Yeah.
So people were happy to let me just reach over and grab whatever box was available.
I guess the ink that I'm looking for, I already checked them either online or in
You can research.
Yeah, so I won't test. I will go and grab the bottle and I won't test them there because I know I don't have time if I want to go to another booth and find another ink. And maybe at an event like Ink at Itoya where there's more like really a long testing table, then I will play with my notebook and because I know that they restock all day their ink, so this I'm not as much stressed by. But yeah, as the booth was smaller and there was only like room for 2 people to stand next to the booth at the time, you feel a little bit like, okay, grab it and leave it and just go to the next one.
Yeah.
Even inside the room, we were like 200 people at the same time.
Yeah.
So it feels quite empty compared to last year when, I don't know,
last year was
thousands of people and
Absolutely,
just lost people and said, where is my friend? Where is...
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this year we feel more relaxed, but yeah, for social distancing it's quite difficult because
there was none of that.
Yeah, you have 1 meter in front of the booth, so 2 people just standing next to each other.
Yeah. And I think one of my regrets last year was not making a plan or a strategy because I went with Jacob and Jacob had, he went on the website, he knew all the stores that were going to be there, and I showed up like, oh, what's going to be here? So he went straight for the Color Traveler last year, snapped up the 10 mini bottles, and I got a lot of inks last year too, but I went mostly for the mainstream stuff. Like I went to the Maruzen booth for some Maruzen pen inks, and I got like Colorverse and stuff like that. But this year I tried to focus more on the Gotochi inks. In terms of strategy of the approach, do we have any tips?
Last year, I think Yasuko-san helped me a lot because she went the day before us. So I text her on Instagram and I asked her, where do I have to go and what do I have to take or not miss? And she make a list like this. On this, at Pentono, there's this who were sold out really fast. At Usagiya, there was this one and this one. At, I don't remember all the shop now, this one. So I kind of follow her path. Like she told me, this one I got them, this one I missed them, but these are the one that everyone's looking for. So I start with that, and I got most of the one that attract me. But yeah, this year I studied the whole Ink magazine, and as I told you, I put a lot of post-it, but a lot of shop wasn't there, good for my wallet. And the one who was there, I got the ink I was looking for. But yeah, it was more, and maybe as Alicia said too, as I have so many from last year, I didn't even use them yet, like maybe just swatch. I was just like, okay, don't go as crazy as last time and just concentrate. If you have 2 or 3, you are happy with that. And yeah, my strategy was more humble.
Yeah, because you can kind of guess which inks are going to sell out fast, right? You know that you mentioned Kobayashi. You know that Usagiya is going to sell out fast. You know that Pentanote is going to sell out fast, right? So it's just a matter of planning your route of attack.
Yeah, and we mentioned these Ink Numa, mostly ladies. They know all the inks.
They know, yeah.
They're so familiar. They know better than you do. So. Now, one of the things I can say is, follow the crowd because they know which are the good ones.
But I have the impression they were more attracted to the glass pen. We were in the first 100 one, and when we enter the room, you see that they grab all the glass pen. Like the two main group were around the glass pen seller. So when we reached the inks, the first one, we got the bottles we wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was also a booth selling some what we would consider some very rare exotic fountain pens, but that booth wasn't really that popular.
Yeah.
But instead, as you said, the booth selling glass pens, that's where the crowd went.
Yeah, they didn't even have a name
Right.
on that booth.
Yeah, that was so weird.
Yeah. But
What was that?
the one with the...
This one.
Oh, that one. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm familiar with that booth. Yeah.
But it was lucky that they didn't have a name, so I think a lot of people missed them.
Oh, yeah. I
Because
think
they thought that it was kind of a reserve corner, like maybe
Yeah.
that you order something and you go and pick up. Because I was in front and I was like, is it the one we're looking for?
Yeah, because I missed it.
And I tried to call Siva, where are you? Come back, don't go out.
Yeah.
don't go out. Yeah. Because when you
Yeah,
go
I
out,
almost
you're
checked
done.
out.
I
Yeah,
was like, I'm close to the cashier. And no, come back.
And so what kind of strategy... Do you have a strategy?
No, I don't have any FOMO at these things at all because there's just way too much ink. So I will, my budget will stop me before my desire. So I just kind of wander around, and if something looks cool, I pick it up, and that seems to work.
Yeah. So let's go around. I mean, we've all been there, and we're back now. Let me know. Can you tell our audience what are the 3 favorite things that we got?
I don't even know some of the stuff I got. What the heck is this?
Those are the four Kawasaki inks.
I have them
Kawasaki
in big bottle.
Yeah, I have one with a big bottle, and it's like the green one.
I have them.
And it was in the same
I think
packaging.
you have the Sakura because I said you the Sakura, right?
Yeah, I've that one there, but this one, I've got another one with the sake thing, and it has green ink in it, and it's one big bottle. It's a flat bottle. Yeah. So I don't know. I saw one of you guys' pictures, so I got it.
For me, it was fairly easy because I got 3 out of the 4 things I had in my shopping list. So we have talked earlier on the podcast about Kawasaki Bunguten's Amabie ink. So this ink with this Amabie theme, this yokai spirit. And they sold small, like Tamiya-size ink samples of that ink. And I assumed that the ink would sell out very fast. So that was one of the first places I went to. And they had like 2 left. And I think, Alesa, you and I got probably the last 2. I haven't even tried it yet. I haven't even opened the box. But I'm glad I got that because there's a fun story there. And then there's this... there's a stationery store in Niigata called Takizawa, and they have this line of inks called the Sesai inks, and it looks like some kind of souvenirs you buy when you go on a trip to like an onsen. It looks like there might be some peanuts or some local delicacy, right?
Senbei or something.
Yeah, but they're these beautiful inks in full-size sailor bottles. I'm glad I got those. And then Usagia, this store in Okayama. Yeah, they had a new line of like indigo
Denim.
inks, the denim inks. I got 2 of them called Vintage and Fade. Haven't tried them yet, but just looking at the label, I'm very excited.
Yeah, because they're blue.
They're blue.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Jacob has turned into what we call an oyaji, and he only likes blue, black, and blue-black now. But yeah, Okayama is actually really well known for denim and for indigo. So it's a traditional place for that. So like Jacob, I think this Amabie ink is one of my favorites. I haven't tried it yet, but it does look really, really cool. My only let's say disappointment is that it's so small. It's just a small bottle. I think it's like 10 millimeters, if that. But anyways, so it's Amabie. And I got a ink from Penne Juku, so Penne 19. This is Yoshiwara Komachi. And they have a picture of a Edo period prostitute on the cover as a label. And I like this ink because it's actually very close to where I live. It's like a local ink for me in that sense. But yeah, Yoshiwara Komachi, I'm very excited to test this. And then my third thing that I really, really enjoy, and I think Jacob was a bit shocked and annoyed last year when I got it, was I always get like a bunch of Tomoe River notebooks. And I think last year I got like 4 Tomoe River notebooks. And this year I got a bunch of Tomoe River stuff as well. Just because the Tomoe River notebook is I just like it so much. It's 360 pages of Tomoe River dot grid or whatever you have. So I just really like that, and they always give a lot of goodies. I think did you get some goodies from Tomoe River?
No, because I have way too much from last year.
Yeah, but I like Tomoe River. I got their blotter paper for free because I bought the notebook. So yeah, that was really, really nice.
So for me, I got this Penne 19 gray, Shirasu ink with really, really nice color and very dense color. Like it's a gray, blue, purple. And I got these 2 inks from Tomo and Lim with I don't remember this one about Tanabata.
Yotsuba.
Yeah. So Tanabata Festival, and it's a couple ink. So the Vega and I forgot the name of the stars.
Altair,
yeah. And so one is a pink with the pink glitters, and the other one is a kind of green with purple bluish glitter inside. And the packaging is really cute. And I really like the ink puddle I got from Tag Stationery. So the cylinder ink puddle where I can mix or try different ink with my glass pen, and it's a very cute, very light. First, there was only 1 box left with the sample in front of it, and I took the box and I thought it was empty. So I think I got lucky because a lot of people think the same, because there was 1 box of each with the sample run, and when you pull the box, like there's nothing inside. And I asked one of the staff to open it for me, and it was this ink puddle. So, and then I want to reach the second one, the one with the marble, but the lady next to me who saw the guy open it took it grabbed it before me. So for next time.
Okay, I got a bunch of ink, but my 3 favorite things are not ink. I just realized that. I really like these things. They're because it's very Japanese, where it's a little tiny notebook inside, and they showed you the little tiny notebooks they had.
The mikuji.
Yeah, but then you had to pick it. In other words, you don't know which kind it is. So like you buy it sight unseen, and like, well, this one's a little life notebook.
Oh, you got lucky. It's one of the good ones.
Yeah, and I like that because it's just so very Japanese, just to be able to go there and do. Yeah, and that made it kind of fun. The thing. And then I got a glass pen. So yeah, I'm an Ink Numa person. And then they had this really cool paper where it's sheer. You can see through it, and you can write with it on fountain pen. But on the other side, it doesn't show. But then you can hold it up, and it has like patterns. Like this one has patterns of dogs on it, and this has patterns of stationery on it. So it was paper.
That's from Kamiterio.
Yeah, they had some really good paper there. So. Yeah, it wasn't any ink, even though I got a lot.
I think you're not entirely sure what inks you got.
No, it's just kind of, I keep looking at it because I go, oh, I got that? Really? Okay. So, yeah.
And then also the Kobe Nagasawa had their new Super Tri-inks.
Did they? I didn't see them.
Yeah, they didn't seem... You said, yesterday they were very popular, but I saw them, they didn't sell that fast.
Okay, yeah, because yesterday we went and the blue went out almost immediately. And then I got the red one, which I'm happy with because I have enough blue inks to last several lifetimes. so yeah. But yeah, that's what we got at Ink Numa. And I want to take just a little time now to talk about an interesting acquisition because it's also relevant. This acquisition that we got last week. So we mentioned this Glass Studio Tous brand with this ribbon nib, and I have to say that I Tous am an Ink Numa now.
That's really, really bad.
Yeah, because they're so beautiful. So I got them in the takitori, which are the short ones. and I guess they're kind of like a bamboo design with this what they call a ribbon nib. But the ribbon nib is basically an italic nib, right? And they had 4 made this time. I went there and I got 3 of them. So the other Ink Numa ladies were not very happy with me because I got there just as they started selling it. So I immediately said I want 3 of them. So I'm really, really sorry to all the Ink Numa ladies out there who weren't able to get one. But I have to say, no regrets. Let's see, you got one. You got the kind of turquoisey sea glass one.
Right.
What do you think about it? Have you played with it yet?
Oh God, it's what tipped me over. That's what probably put me on the other end. Where if they make more glass pens like this, I think I might even move to the States or outside of Japan because it really changes things. You can write italic with it. You can just do a lot of fun stuff with it. It almost opens up, in some ways, more different things than fountain pens. So I love it. It made me an Ink Numa person.
And it's really easy to clean, I noticed, because the grooves are so well done. I mean, obviously fountain pens is much more portable, right? But how did it feel in your hand? Did you like the balance?
Yeah, but I don't really, when I play around with ink, I don't do it for hours and hours and hours. So it really doesn't matter one way or another. Yeah, it felt fine, but yeah.
Because they have the longer one too.
Right.
I tried the longer one. It just didn't feel as nice. This short one, I think is just perfect. I mean, I haven't written with it yet. I tested it at the store, but I hadn't written with it. I just, like holding it in my hands.
Oh, when you start writing with it, you're going to get yourself a couple of puddles too. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's so good. And you got the purple one. Well, actually, you wanted the clear one, but I took the clear one, so you don't get it. But you got the purple one instead. What do you think?
It's very funny to play with. You can do like swatches. So I usually do with a glass cocktail stirrer. But here you can, and it contains a lot of ink. Like once you put the nib in the ink, you can like color, I don't know, the size of the credit card with ink. So it's very interesting to draw, I guess, to make some sketches, and it's really the flood on the flux. It's really smooth on the paper.
Yeah, it's got nice feedback.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not like scratchy.
Yeah, and I have both mine and yours in my hand, and I can see that they have different size, right?
Yours is longer, I think.
Okay.
The nib.
And wider a bit.
But I don't think he could control it.
Yeah, I think it's more. But it's really interesting, so then you can collect them.
Yeah, and I think that I don't know if it's common news, but Japan is actually really big on glassworks, right?
Yes.
Like there are a lot of glass makers, and actually all of these glass makers, they're not new.
No.
They've been around for a while, but they've been making other things. And Glass Studio 2, he's making stuff for like the Ritz-Carlton. I mean, he's making stuff for huge hotels. Hilton Nagoya or something has his work. So he's massive, absolutely massive. And just now they're tapping into this Ink Numa market. And so, as Jake likes to say, the holy trinity between glass pen makers, Tono Limbs, and Betchori.
Oh God, yeah, that's those 3 things. You're right. It made it kind of explode.
Yeah.
But you can see at the Ink Numa fair is the ladies who run to the glass pen maker. The first thing they were like greetings their sensei. Like,
oh, really?
Like they pick a pen and then they show it to the sensei on the video, and they were like thanking him, and it's like a fan club. I was so surprised because they were like, what's happening there? And they were like so thankful for the work and like really happy to have a piece of art in their hand, and it was very like seeing your pop star or something. Yeah. It was very funny, and I think
thank you for spending my money.
And I think Betchori has the same relation with the fan club and people following like a rock star.
And they were selling a set of his, the lettering set.
For Giaba.
So So yeah, just wanted to talk a bit about that. I'm glad we got 3 of the 4 in our hands. Now Jacob is the only one without because he's a boring black resin body, blue-black ink person now. So he's not a Numa.
I just picked up a bottle of Pelican Blue Black. Good.
Yeah, your favorite ink? All right, and with that, I think we can move to some Q&A.
Yeah.
And I picked this first one because it's kind of relevant to what we were doing these past 2 days. So, the question is, in your opinion, and this is from Vladimir from Reddit. He says, so in your opinion, what exactly made Korean brands explode? I understand that their pricing allows for some juicy retailer margins, but I keep wondering what could motivate me to buy a 30 milliliter bottle for basically $28. Do I just fail to see the appeal of these inks? From a perspective of a non-user, Tonal Limbs is pretty much noodlers laying heavily on the female audience. So
I disagree totally.
Okay.
I disagree that it is not like Noodlers at all. First of all, Noodlers is kind of like got this, rugged single man kind of making all of his inks, and he's got like bulletproof and glow in the dark, but he's creative in a way I think that's like the chemistry part of it, like it glows in the dark or it's freeze resistant. How Tonal Limbs is creative is they just push every boundary on color, sheen, shimmer, glitter, glow in the dark. I mean, I have an ink right now that it basically chromo shades. It shades in several colors. It's got glitter in it, and it glows in the dark. There's about 18 different ways you can enjoy that. So I think it's totally a different animal. One is kind of like the chemistry, and the other is kind of like the experience. So I disagree.
And so one thing I would add to that is that it's not Korean. If you talk about Japan, it's not Korean brands in general, because you almost never see Color Verge. You almost never see Three Oysters, right? It's really Tonal Limbs. And I would say the thing about Tonal Limbs is that they move faster than anyone else, right? They release new models, and they seem to be able to do it at a small scale in a way that probably makes financial sense to them, right? So I think that's really, it sort of draw parallel to, we tend to talk about Moonman, this Chinese pen brand. They release more pen models in a quarter than Japanese brand can release in a decade almost. Right? And that's the same thing. Like they move so fast.
Yeah.
But I have to disagree with you on one point. I think that Noodlers does push boundaries. They got, the UV and stuff. So I think they were one of the first to really push the boundaries of ink. I think the difference between Noodlers and Tonal Limbs is that Tonal Limbs works, whereas Noodlers can very oftentimes be finicky with like the bleed through, the show through and feathering and things like that. So I think that Tonal Limbs has appeal in that sense that that it's kind of just going to work. Now, Noodlers is on the other aspect of the price spectrum, right? It's fairly cheap. You get like really a full bottle, whereas Tonal Limbs is like 30 milliliter glass bottle. It's really quite small in comparison and at quite a higher price point. So I think what our audience is trying to get at here is, what justifies that gap in price?
Oh, it's not a matter of justification. It's a matter, in the end, ultimately how much you spend, right? Because no one's going to use all the ink they buy. Not even Jacob. Jacob only buys blue and black, and he's not going to use all of it. We're never going to use all the ink. So by saying that you take a price per milliliter is actually quite misleading. In the end, it's the overall end price. Yeah. And so I think that if you, only use one kind of ink and you use the whole bottle, absolutely, you should buy Noodlers because you're going to get a better price per milliliter and you're going to use all of it. But if you use several different kinds of ink, I really don't like large bottles of ink because I'm not going to use it all.
And you feel wasteful.
And then once you get down to a certain point, it's hard to fill. You got to pour it into something else. So definitely, if you're into fountain pens and you'll use one kind of ink, buy yourself a big bottle of Pilot Blue Black or something, and
Or the Irvan, the
yeah,
huge
exactly. Which I have 2 bottles of right now. But if you're looking at a variety of different colors and a variety of different boundaries on ink and a usable amount, then I think that's where it's just a little bit different.
And Tony Lims has a lot of these light pastel colored inks that people like so much here, right? And of course there are other brands that have that, right? But here's a new ink that you don't have in your collection, and it's a light turquoise, right? Lovely. Need that. And Betchor is promoting it.
Yeah. And the fact that they release every week new ink. I cannot follow anymore. Every time they I was like, is it a new ink? Is it one that I missed? I don't understand anything anymore. But we talk about this. They use metallic
I know. I need to get some of that.
inside, or they make these lines especially for glass pen.
Yes.
So they don't. They say it's better to not put in fountain pen, but we will try, of course.
She already did.
We all have tried before. So I think they are really strong because they from a simple like from ink, they make a very wide panorama of all the way you can use your ink: drawing, sketching, writing, splashing them. I don't know. So yeah, they are very fast.
Yeah. But I actually think that the number of inks that they release is what's pushing me away from the brand.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
We talked about Tonal Limbs very, very early on in this podcast where they only had like a few lines. And I was a big fan of them. Actually, I was one of the first to buy Tonal Limbs when they were only selling on Amazon and at shows. They didn't even have them at Okamoto. And I got 3 of their prefecture series. I think they only had 4 or 6 inks at the time. So I got 3 of the prefecture series, and the price doesn't put me off because, as you say, right, like honestly, at the end of the day, it's just about how much money you spend. I'm not going to use all. I cataloged my inks. I had 155 bottles of unique colors. It's not counting repeats, right? So,
So you have repeat inks.
I have repeat inks, of course. I have many repeat inks. Yeah, but it's not really a matter of the price for me, but I don't want to wake up and be like, oh, there's 5 Tonal Limbs again. Oh, there's 6 Tonal Limbs again.
Yeah.
To me, this is annoying. It's not a product strategy because if you base your business strategy on this, then you can't stop, and it's not viable. I much prefer the way that Sailor does it. It's not about that they have large 50 millimeter bottles, which is it's nice, but I like that I can keep track of where they are, how many that I can expect. And I think it also establishes a better sense of exclusivity. Oh my God, that word is so hard to pronounce. Yeah.
And we have almost stopped covering Tonal Limbs on a podcast, at least this online event. We covered the first 2 and then come out, there are too many of them. But one more thing about Tonal Limbs, going back to this Ink Numa show, one thing that I didn't see as much of as I thought I would see was Tonal Limbs, right? So we talked about it on the podcast, and Alesa talked about it on YouTube, how Tonal Limbs is so dominating in Japan. Yet on today's show, I think
still Sailor.
Yeah, there were a few. I think for some reason, there were a few of them, but mostly Sailor, right? And it was sort of refreshing in a way to see.
Yeah, and actually Sailor were the ones that went out the fastest, not the Tonal Limbs.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe we're seeing a saturation in the market which is hilarious, right? Like Tonal Limbs outsaturated themselves, which
I agree totally with that. When I was at Okamoto, the sales guy told me that.
When, yesterday or the day before?
Yeah, it's like a week ago. But he was saying that Tonal Limbs had released 50 new inks over the summer. And he was saying it as if he was really proud. And I remember thinking, oh my God, it kind of turned me off. That it was just too much to keep up with.
Yeah.
I've never been to the shop, but I think I better not go.
You should.
No, but you should go. I mean, the ink tasting corner is quite nice, I have to admit. They're kind of I don't know how to say it, but they were a bit like defensive when I was testing the inks because I was cleaning the glass pen and I kind of rest the pen in the bottle of water that they had to clean it, and they got really mad at me. They're like, "No, you can't put the pen like that in there because the tip is gonna snap." And then they got like super defensive and were inspecting the tip. And I'm like, "Come on, I know how to use a glass pen. Like, give me a break." But still got to go there because just to look, but it's too much.
Okay.
It's just too much. They have like hundreds of tononyms at Okamotoya.
I think I lost track of their name and categories because they have so many theme and some are like all the galaxy comet stuff. So you're like, is it the same collection? Did they relabel it? And
I don't even know the lines.
Yeah. I mean, you don't. Yeah. And the thing, I don't know why they never saw swatches on their Instagram. So you have to go to Beachody or somewhere else, like someone who used them. But on there, it's just like this Pantone
exactly.
square, and you're always like, is it the real color, or is it just like I don't know.
Yeah, because it doesn't tell you about the shading and sheen properties, right? It's the base color.
Yeah.
I still got two.
Me too.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there, but I still bought some.
Yeah. But thank you, Vladimir. I think it's a great question.
Yeah.
Especially for this podcast. Now the second question is from Mike Antkowiak. I can't pronounce his last name, but I think it's Eastern European. But Mike from Instagram. And by the way, he does absolutely fantastic ink swatches. You should
I've seen that. Yeah, very good.
He's just so good. We'll link him in the show notes. He's absolutely fantastic. You need to follow him right now. But he says, CY and Jacob, I've decided to try and collect all the Pen BBS inks that are named after cities. I think there are 22 in total so far. I've only been able to acquire 6, at least from the Western markets. I've tried one site, China How, but they said I couldn't purchase from them. I see that they're available on Yukon and AliExpress, and some mention eBay with limited success. Do you have a source for finding what I'm looking for that's reputable and that ships to the US? I know, likely not an easy thing, and it's not really a Japan market question, but you two are a stone's throw away compared to me. So, thoughts? I want to bring this question because you are the master of anything buying from China.
Jacob needs to answer that.
So I have found on a few occasions Pen BBS ink on eBay, but that's not what I would search. Instead, I would go to AliExpress. Now, it's hard to search on AliExpress. Most of the product listings are just badly translated, the keyword soups, right? But you can find pretty much all the Pen BBS inks there, and they will ship, at least from China to Japan. I think they will ship to most locations. I've had, mixed results with shipping. I had one. I recently ordered a purple ink, and the whole cardboard box came purple. So sometimes that happens. But I would still say AliExpress is probably your best option. You have to do some searching there, but you might find all of the Pen BBS inks there.
Yeah, and then so you introduced me to TV Focus.
Yeah, I would definitely try there. Again, I just don't have the patience to scroll and make my way through all that stuff. But yeah, TV Focus does ship to the States and ships to Canada.
Yeah, and TV Focus is good because they have like this automatic machine translated English website. But it can be a bit hard, and they have a bunch of shipping options. Shipping is a bit expensive with TV Focus, though. I will say that. I bought my 24 Solar Terms girls from them, and I haven't inked them or swatched them yet. But yeah, those are pretty cool because they came with shimmer that you add into the bottle. Oh. They're sailor shaped bottles as well. And then they gave me a free Pen BBS ink cha. And they gave me a bunch of other goodies that I threw away because I don't need them. But, I think they have pretty good service.
Yeah.
All right. So, we've just hit the hour mark on our recording. Obviously, it will be shorter when you listen to it because we edit some stuff out. But I think it's been a good show.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else to add?
Just one more observation from Ink Numa. So when I went there, I think I was there 30 minutes before it opened. And I think we were like 50 people or so. And there were 3 guys in total, including me. I think the 2 others were dragged there by their wives or girlfriends. All the others were like ladies in their 20s, I would say. So I felt a little bit out of place in that event.
Yeah, that's what I was telling Jacob, that he wanted to give dating advice, that, if you're a guy, I would show up at Ink Numa.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
A lot of single ladies running around looking at ink.
Yeah. But yeah, the future is female. All right. So with that, thank you so much for listening. This has been episode, I believe, 14. So we're getting up there in the number of episodes. It'll be almost, it's been half a year since we started this podcast. And I'm really happy with the work that we've done so far. And I'm always really happy to have our guests, our esteemed guests, come. So that's been really, really great. And I want to thank you, the listeners, for listening. But I also want to note that, content is not free. Obviously, you are listening to this for free now, but it does take money. It does take time. It's a lot of investment to make this content. We do this on our weekends, and, we pay for the server hosting fees. So while we don't have a direct form of contribution method at this moment, there is one way that you can pay us. And that way that you can pay us is by telling your friends about the podcast and helping us grow. Because when you tell your friends and they listen and you subscribe, you leave a comment, you leave a review, that will help us improve and grow our audience so that we can reach more people. So if you think that there's somebody in your life who might be interested about Japanese stationery, tell them. Tell your friends, tell your family members, tell your mother, your sister, your brother, your father, tell anybody. We want to grow, we want to increase listenership, and you are the best way to do that. So thank you very much for listening to our content. We hope that you find it engaging and fun, and we hope that you find it engaging and fun enough to also share with your friends and your family. And with that, my name is CY, and you can find me on my website at tokyostationpens.com, on Instagram at tokyostationpens, and on Twitter at tokyostationmnh.
And my name is Jacob, and I'm Fudefan on Instagram and on Twitter, and I have a website at fudefan.com.
And thanks for having me again. And my name is Khuê, and you can find me on Instagram at midaikat.
And thanks for having me also. I'm Alesa, Inky Rocks on Instagram and YouTube.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.